We are at Hampton, Georgia tonight, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the site for the second to last race of the regular season here in the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series here tonight at Atlanta. Hello, friends. Carlos Zimmerman here alongside me from his home in Arizona, Logan Brakey. Logan, it is a pleasure to have you here tonight. We are on tap for 166 laps here tonight at the very slick Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, great to be back racing here this weekend after a couple weeks off for these guys here in the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series. As you said, back at the hot, slick, and fast Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is going to be an absolute doozy here tonight. Always fantastic racing whenever we come to Atlanta, whether it be on iRacing or in the real world. This place never fails to disappoint, and we're in for a doozy here tonight.
Pretty much a small group of people that are that made it to the race tonight. It's going to be about a 17-car field or so, pending on if everyone was able to make in qualifying times. Looking here as you'll bring up your starting grid here for this evening's race. Again, 166 laps tonight. It is going to be a long one tonight. Christopher Tate found the pole, and he is, of course, in first. Chris Bass second. I believe making his debut tonight, Tommy Gossett rolls off from the third position. Christopher Reese to his outside. Row number 3, Chris Roberge, Chris Otto, some mainstays in this series. Chris Personette and Christopher Williams, they roll off 7th, 8th, and then rounding up the top 10, Christopher Lawrence and Chris Hubka. You'll see the rest of it on your screen. 11 cars made times, and that was all they had. Logan, I was here about a couple weeks ago here for the Speed 51 Elite Days Gone By Truck Series, and they ran caution-free except for the competition caution at lap 41. Is that going to be the case tonight with 166 laps, or are we looking at a wreck fest?
You know, it's certainly doable, obviously. The thing that these guys are going to be fighting the most here in the opening laps is this track is extremely loose on the start on new tires because the track temp is so hot tonight. Tonight it's 101 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a pretty slick track out there right now. But if we get through the first 10 laps without issue, it's very possible that we see some long green flag runs here. Atlanta is one of those places where you can run green for quite some time. Fuel mileage will come into play, and tires as well. Tires are going to be very important here. This track eats tires for breakfast, lunch, brunch, and dinner. And then it comes back and will get your car for dessert if you're not careful. So long runs are very possible here, but it should be exciting nonetheless.
Christopher Tate, he is the points leader entering tonight. He has 7 points on Chris Bass, who's second. They're both locked in. Christopher Takis is in the server, but looks like he is not officially in. So that's something to watch out for tonight. Chris Hubka, he's in this race 4th. Chris Noblet, I believe he's here tonight in 5th, so the top 5 in points. With a 57-point spread between them, they're all here. Green flag in the air, 166 laps to go here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. A good jump for Christopher Tate, and he'll have the debuting Tommy Gossett pulling in right behind him in second.
Everybody going to be giving each other plenty of space here on this start, because as we mentioned, this place is extremely loose on new tires, especially off of turn 2 and turn 4. Everybody gets through there cleanly. And a good fight for position. As you said, the rookie of Chris Gossett moving through to take the lead, and he's going to lead lap 1 here as he leads off of 4.
Tate still trying to hang around on his outside as he keeps it up there in that higher groove. Tommy Gossett leads the first lap. What is going to be the preferred line today, as Christopher Tate is really showing that middle to high groove is going to show some speed today?
Yeah, early in the runs or right on the restart or on fresh tires, that middle groove will come into play and will, in some cases, be a little bit faster around there. But as the run goes on, we'll see guys start to move around and just drive wherever their car feels most comfortable. A lot of guys will just be glued to that white line all the way through the corner. Some guys will run a little bit higher. Obviously, you see them now already kind of starting to move about a half lane up there from the bottom, just to try and preserve those tires as best they can. So you'll see a lot of that as well.
We've just had some trouble on the front straightaway. The 62 of Christopher Reese spun down into the infield and down into the pit lane. Did not bring out a caution. Some big-time damage on the 62 car. Oh, boy, early trouble that did not breed a caution.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only one involved in that. He actually got tagged pretty good from, I'm not sure who it was. Going back to take a look, it was actually the 5 of Chris Hubka, and that is huge for him because he is currently sitting in 4th in points. He does not have a win, Carlos, so he is in a position where he needs to point his way in if he's not going to get a win this season with only 1 race left before the chase starts. So huge implications for the 5 of Chris Hubka early in this race.
The big thing for Christopher Reese was, too, he is 10th in points, currently tied for 9th with Chris Roberge. So if he does not able to get it fixed tonight, the saving grace for him is Chris M. Scott did not make the race tonight, so he won't fall out of 10th place, but he could definitely lose that tie with Chris Roberge if he is not able to continue. Do want to report here as they are 3 wide. Chris Hubka, I think that's the car that's way out of shape on the high side. But he, actually, no, that was the 81 of Chad Lurdy, who is actually making his debut tonight as well here in the Chris Cup Series. What I was going to say is Christopher Takis, he is in the race. He has made it in. He is now ahead of Christopher Reese, 16th. He'll be 2 laps down, so they'll need a pair of cautions to get back on the lead lap here as we're only working lap 6.
Got a really tight battle for the lead here. Got 4 cars, all can have a blanket thrown over top of them there. It's the 96 of, it's the 25 of Tate, 96 of Gossett, 98 of Roberge, and 26 of Personette. All up there battling for the lead, the top 4. And just behind them is 5th and 6th of Chris Otto and Chris Bass lurking in the midst there, waiting for something to happen here. But one thing that these guys have to be careful of, Carlos, is battling like that for so long and so hard is they're going to chew those tires up pretty quick running side by side like this.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, I know you said at the beginning that, with the oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought, but the tires are slick from the onset of this race as Tommy Gossett takes the lead away from Tate. The later in the run, they're going to get even worse when they're old. So really, the best time your tires are is when they're warmed up and it's in the middle of a run, and then they'll just start to fall off as time progresses. But Tommy Gossett seems to have figured out here as the battle's now going to be on for second. Chris J. Personette jumps now to the inside of the points leader, Tate, and looks like he'll take the spot with ease, but Tate battling back up high.
Real quick, while we've got this battle on the screen and got a quick moment to go over it, I'd like to discuss real quick the drivers that we've got in the field who are locked in to the postseason chase. And those drivers are Christopher Tate in the 25, Chris Bass in the 97, Chris Takis in the 46, who has currently scored 2 laps down, Chris Otto in the 88, and Chris M. Scott in the, I believe he's in the 83, but he is not here this afternoon. So those are your drivers that are locked into the postseason. Everybody else out here on track is looking to points their way in with only 1 race remaining in the regular season.
I believe it's 16 drivers that make the playoff run. I could be mistaken. You could look into that for me, Logan. But if that were the case, you'd have to go all the way down to Chris Newman, who'd be the last guy in there. And I don't even remember the last time he was in a race. And that's a thing to watch out for, because you look at it, Chris Joshua Personette, he's running up here in the 2nd spot right now, trying to take the lead away from Chris Tommy Gossett. He is 16 points out if the cutoff line is at 16. I might be wrong, but that would be something interesting if that were to be the case. But, man, this 96 of Chris Tommy Gossett has pretty much figured things out, and it's now settled out amongst the top 5.
So chase cutoff is at 16. You are correct in that. So anybody inside the top 16 is obviously eligible. And if you're in that top 16, Carlos, and you're here tonight, all you got to do is make sure you finish well, because, I mean, that's the beauty of not having a lot of attendees this late in the season is you're pretty much at this point, you're guaranteed a top 15 finish essentially. And just work your butt off to get inside that top 10 and just get yourself a solid result to keep yourself inside that top 16 with 1 race to go after this weekend.
Trouble for the 24 of Chris Edwards, typically in the 72, but he's in the 24 tonight, the Duke Chris colors. He is looking like he's making an unscheduled pit stop here. Might be trouble for Chris Edwards, who finds himself in points. I'm trying to find him here. Actually, he may not even be in contention for anything. Oh, actually, no, he's 19th in points, about 46 points behind Chris Newman at that cutoff spot. So early trouble for a guy who's probably needing a win at this point to try and get into this playoffs.
Yeah, he was battling with the track there. He lost it halfway down the back straightaway there, and he pounded that inside wall and definitely knocked the toe out of that for sure with the way he hit it. But that's the thing about this track, Carlos, is if you go back and you watch, you see him fighting it the whole way down the back straightaway, and he actually spins in the middle of the backstretch, which is, you look at that and you're like, what in the world? How do you do that? But that's the way this track is. The looseness of this place sneaks up on you off of turn number 2 and off of turn number 4 sometimes, and you're fighting it the whole way down the back straightaway, and then eventually you either win that battle or finally the car will decide to step out from underneath you and send you around into the inside wall, and that unfortunately was the case for Chris Edwards there. So it looks like he's still sitting in pit road getting some hefty repairs, so his day will essentially be done, I think, at this point. No fast repairs this evening, and a pretty damaged race car there 12 laps into this event.
16 lap 16 is on the board right now. Tommy Gossett, he is looking pretty good, but he's got Christopher Tate and Chris Joshua Personette running behind him in third. Chris Bass and Chris Otto, they round out the top 5. We'll take a quick break, and here's this message from Shorebos Racing Graphics. You're watching the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series here on the Flat Out Racing Network. Here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Lap 20 now on the board. You saw it there. Tommy Gossett just continuing to pace this field. Christopher Tate, Chris Joshua Personette, Chris Bass, Chris Otto, they have held the top 5 the same since we went to the break. If you're just joining us here on our YouTube page or Facebook, Carlos Zimmerman here. Alongside of me is Logan Brakey. Well, not really alongside of me. I'm at my home in Texas. He's at his home in Arizona. We hope you're all staying safe in this time, and we hope we're going to be bringing you some good action here tonight, courtesy of the Flat Out Racing Network. Logan, I talked with you during the break. What is going to be the fuel and tire run with a 166 lap race and they're 21 laps in?
Fuel is always it's always a tough estimate, at least for me. But I would imagine we're looking at around maybe 42 to 46 laps on fuel alone, but tires are going to be a lot different from that. So like we said, this track destroys tires. This is a very old surface here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's one of the oldest asphalt surfaces, if not the oldest asphalt surface on the schedule as we speak. So it destroys the tires. The lap times are going to be dropping immensely. So it's going to be, I think we'll see these guys push the fuel and pit based on fuel mileage. But don't expect some guys to throw in the towel early and come in and get 4 fresh tires before before their fuel runs out. So I would estimate if these guys were going to wait and pit on fuel, it'd be around lap 42 to lap 48, I think, is when we'd see them come.
So if you do it from the bare minimum at lap 42, that would make this race, if I'm doing my math correctly, barely a 3-stop race, as Chris Joshua Personet and Christopher Tate really got out of shape, or at least Tate did when he was trying to pass Chris Tommy Gossett for the lead, and he just lost all momentum. Now he's trying to run down the 18 once again, but it looks like he's going to be able to get to him with ease. But man, oh man, I am loving the performance out of the guy who's making his debut tonight again. If you're just joining us, Chris Tommy Gossett there in the 96.
I'm going to adjust my calculations here by about 8 to 10 laps here, Carlos, because I always forget that they've run on a 75% fuel limit. So I'm going to say now we'd be looking maybe more around 34 to 38, I think, is when we'd see these guys come in, just based on their fuel load alone. Because early on in the run, you're running pretty wide open. You're not lifting a whole bunch through the corners here early into a run, so you're burning up a lot of fuel then. But as these tires wear more and more throughout the laps, you spend a lot more time off the throttle in the corners. So it's all going to depend for these guys on how hard they ran on those opening fuel laps, what their fuel and tire situation is. But a heck of a battle going on for third place or for second place right now.
Yeah, Christopher Tate just took the second place back from Chris Personet there. He moved the 25, the points leader, back to P2. Trying to look through the field here. They're all pretty spread out. This is the closest battle on the racetrack. The next closest battle would be Chris Otto and Chris Roberge. Roberge about 4/10 behind the 88. Roberge, he came in tonight, 9th in points without a win, but he's got about almost 100-point gap back to 16th, so depending on how next week goes, he may be able to just point his way in with ease there, that Chrissy D98. He's been up in the front for some of these races this season. He just has not been able to close the deal. He's currently running 6th.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a good point on that. We've got a few drivers that have made that claim to their name here. One of them was Chris Bass there early on in the season. You know, when we would always see him run really well, lead some laps, be up around, mix it up at the front of the pack, but could just never close out the victory until that fateful day at Texas Motor Speedway. And it's the same story, as you said, with Chris Roberge. We always see him mixing it up at the front at some point in the race, but he's just never able to really close out the deal and bring home the checkered flag. But nonetheless, he's scored some good points this season, scored 9th in points, as you said, so he's in a comfortable spot here with one race left in the regular season.
Yeah, Chris Bass running in 4th right now, as I believe the leaders are starting to catch some lap traffic here as Chris Tommy Gossett. Yeah, there is Chris Edwards. He has returned to the racetrack, 14 laps down. Just trying to log laps at this point. If someone falls out of the race due to accident or internet issues, you know, he could keep logging laps and be able to pick up spots that way. But essentially his chances of contending for the win are over, as the 96 and the leaders now bypass the 24 of Chris Edwards. Christopher Reese, he's another car. He's returned to the racetrack. A little bit of right front damage and some rear deck lid damage on the 62. He's 7 laps down. Definitely won't be able to contend for the win tonight. The only other guy that's down off the lead lap, that's Christopher Takis. He's currently 3rd in points, locked into the championship, locked into the playoffs, excuse me, with his 2 wins this season. So
got
the
a caution
caution
on the
is
race
out. There's that caution that Takis was looking for. It looks like it's the 81 of Chad Lurdy here, right here on the backstretch.
My guess is it's going to be he got a little loose off of 2 and spun it to the inside. But we'll go back and take a look.
Yeah, we'll take a look here, see what happened with him. Yeah, that's exactly right. You see him here coming through 1 and 2. He's already getting loose into turn number 1, and then he brings it down to the inside. He's running behind Chris Clifford Corvo here, brings it way up the track, snaps right on him, and then just spins down the front stretch. So the only damage he'll probably get is that little tap there at the end of the inside wall there on the safer berry, and the little bit of right front damage that he did from smacking the outside wall. So a single car spin for the guy making his debut tonight, Chad Lurdy. He got to get back going. He'll just try to get his damage repaired. But that is why we are working our first caution of the night here at Atlanta on lap 31 of 166, giving us roughly 135 to go.
So it's a little unfortunate because curious to see if my calculations were correct in terms of fuel, but we'll definitely see everybody come to pit road here this time and top off on fuel and tires. I think you'd be a fool to not do so unless you're just trying to lead a lap. Whoa! Chris spins on the pit road. That's going to be huge. He's going to lose the lead from that.
Big time mistake out of the guy making his debut tonight. A rookie mistake out of the 96 of Chris Tommy Gossett. Yeah, he's lucky it happened in the pits, but then he's unlucky because now he's not going to be able to come out with the lead. Christopher Tate will likely reassume the lead. I think Chris Otto also missed his pit box there, Logan.
Oh man, I feel for him because not because he lost the lead, but because that's a mistake that guys are never going to let you live down. He tried to gas it real quick there before coming into pit road, Carlos, to try and give himself a little bit of a gap just to speed up and then slow down to pit road speed to kind of gap himself, and he lost it as soon as he hit the gas there to try and give himself that gap, and the car went away from him there. So I wouldn't say it's a costly mistake, but it's definitely one that he would like to have back as he just gifted away the lead.
With that does hand the lead back over to the points leader, Christopher Tate. Chris Personette, he came out second. Chris Bass third. Chris Noblet made his way up into the fourth spot. Chris Noblet comes in tonight fifth, well to the good on points, so he's likely to point his way in next week. But he's going to bring it back down here probably to top off the car and everything, so he'll surrender the fourth spot. Actually, I'm going to correct myself. I think he missed his pit box.
Who is this? I apologize. Who?
Chris Noblet.
Chris Noblet. Yeah, you did mention something briefly about him missing his pit box, going back to the lap before.
Makes it in cleanly this time, so it looks like he'll just fall far back as 13th.
Yeah, you're right. I think I went back and I watched the lap before. He wasn't. It seems to look like he lost place of where his pit box was. So he definitely missed his box coming in the first time. He's got the second stall when you come onto pit road, and he drove by it completely. So that is why he came back down pit road. But it's early in the race, and those are the times to make those mistakes. So no harm, no foul.
So our readjusted top five: Christopher Tate, Chris Personette, Chris Bass, Chris Tommy Gossett now moves up the fourth. Christopher B. Williams makes an appearance here inside the top five. The rest of your top 10: Chris Roberge, Chris Otto, Christopher Lawrence, Chris T. Jones, the admin of this league, and Chris Clifford Corriveau, rounding out this top 10. So from that first bit of action today until we got our first caution here at back at lap 30, Logan, what did you gather after watching all of that?
Well, our top four definitely have a lot of pace in them there, with the exception of Chris Bass. He was kind of outside. He was running out there in 6th or 7th position, so kind of just hanging on. But our top four: Tate, Personette, Gossett, and I believe there was one more up there with them. Not sure who else was up there with them at one point, but our leaders are showing a lot of early pace early on, and based on the wrecks that we saw early in the run too, is this track is behaving exactly how we expected, really loose on the fresher tires and continuing to be pretty ill handling as the run goes on.
We'll see how this plays out going forward. Pace car lights are still on. Christopher Reese going to take the wave around because he pit earlier when he had that spin at the early onset of this race, so I guess he didn't feel like he needed to, so he'll get one of his 7 laps back. I'll put him 6 laps down. Christopher Takis was the lucky dog. He'll get one of his 2 laps back. So another caution would allow him to get back on the lead lap. And, Logan, I think he might start picking his way through the field and join the leaders up here.
Yeah, again, excuse me, not sure why we didn't see him take the green. But it's not due to any sort of mechanical issue or any wreck-induced damage that is keeping the 46 off the lead lap. So don't know what kind of speed he has, but I'm sure that we'll be looking at him charging through the field as soon as he does get that last lap back and is back on the lead lap. Chad Lurdy the reason for our last caution, got his damage repaired. He is back out on track. He's currently scored as the first car 1 lap down, so it'll be a battle between him and the 46 of Takis to get back on the lead lap here.
Well, it appears Takis, with no fast repairs, Takis is definitely going to have the advantage over Lurdy with Lurdy's damage, so we'll see here. I've been watching Christopher Williams here on these last few laps, riding the bottom here, trying to keep the fuel level in his car. You know, you typically see that towards the end of a race when fuel mileage is a question here. But, you know, Atlanta has bred a lot of races across all 3 of NASCAR's National Touring Series, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks. It always produces some great finishes, especially when fuel mileage is a factor. Will that be the case tonight? You'll find out in just over 130 laps. Christopher Tate and Joshua Personette going to get us back underway this evening as the pace car make the hard left-hand turn. We'll go green with 131 laps to go here tonight, and Tate's on the gas. Green flag back in the air in Atlanta.
Everybody jumping to get down to that bottom line there. Seems to be the place with the most grip right now on the restarts. The 42 of Williams way up the track, just is going to narrowly avoid contact with the wall. He never entered the corner properly there, Carlos, and was way out of the groove from start to finish. So that's going to cost him a couple spots here, continuing to run that high side.
Gonna try and get that run off the corner there to try and get back around Chris Otto, but I believe Otto's going to probably be able to hold on to the spot. This is the battle for the 6th position here. Tried to squeak it down to that middle groove, trying to get that run that he can get off at 2. Oh, is Otto going to shut the door? Yes, he will. So Otto will maintain the 6th position. Chris Robert settles into the 5th spot now, trying to utilize that middle groove to get around our early leader in Tommy Gossett. Oh, Gossett got below that white line there. You got to be careful when you get below that white line, Logan, because, you know, that car can snap on you in an instant if you're not careful.
Yeah, the transition of the banking from track surface to apron is pretty severe here. It's most places we go to, you kind of see that outer groove of the apron kind of have a little bit of a banking to kind of help make the transition a little less harsh. Atlanta's not one of those places. So as you said, if you dip your tires below that white line for long enough, it's going to really upset the car, and it's going to come snapping around on you quicker than you can say whoops-a-daisy. So guys have got to be really careful there. A heck of a battle here, multiple places around the track. I'm looking at the 1 and 6 there, Carlos, but there's one just ahead of that. Battle for 3rd.
Yeah, Tommy Gossett, we've been watching it here. They are both, him and Chris Robert, are going to go around the 97 of Chris Bass, as 97 not really been good on the short run, it appears. Hopefully it'll come to him here down the stretch here in this run. If we go by Logan's math correctly, it will mean that everyone, if this stays green up through lap 70, we'd see guys around lap 73, 75 to make pit stops just short of halfway. So we'll see how that plays out. Christopher Lawrence, he's made an appearance now here in the top 10, nearing up. Actually, no, that's Takis. That was the lap car trying to get through everybody, and he got loose when he was running behind Christopher Williams. I'm sorry. I thought it was the 01 for a minute, but it's the 46 lap car of Takis. He's currently winning that battle for the lucky dog spot, but man, he got loose on the back loop.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to put a little extra wheel in it off of turn number 2 there to try and get underneath the 42 of Chris Williams there. And when you put a little more wheel in there, the back end tends to want to swap ends on you, just like it did there. So a nice save there from the 46, and he gathered it up nicely. He'll fall back in line. He's in position A right now, so if a caution should come out that does not involve him, he will get the lucky dog and get his lap back.
When we've been watching all these battles back here, Joshua Personette has taken the lead away from Christopher Tate here on lap 42 of 166, giving us 125 to go. So, man, that Chris Personette machine, it has got some good speed underneath that car. And, again, this is a guy that comes 17th in points, 16 points out of the cutoff. A win tonight puts him in.
Yeah, and it's at this stage in the season, it's almost more tempting if you haven't got your win yet, that'll lock you in, but you're inside the top 16 comfortably. You're inside the top 10 in points even. it's more comfortable for you to not take risks and just make sure you finish the race, Carlos, at this point, at this stage in the season. If you finish the race at this stage in the season, you're probably going to point your way into the postseason. You've got this race, obviously, and then you have Darlington next week, and then you're done. You're in the postseason. So the guys that we haven't seen win yet this season, I don't expect them to be super aggressive here, especially if they're in a good spot, like in the top 10 in points. But on the flip side of that, guys that are on that bubble, Chris Newman, Chris Jenkins, Chris Ritchie, Chris Leach, I don't think any of those guys are here tonight, but if they were, I think we would see them be a little more aggressive this afternoon.
Jonathan Leach, you typically see him in the 48, Christopher Ritchie in the 35, Cody Jenkins in the 18, which is being run tonight by Chris Personette, and then Chris Newman in the 90, who I haven't seen in quite a while. So, you know, even with if Newman doesn't show up next week and Personette doesn't win tonight, Personette could still point his way in by just by virtue of good runs if he can get it tonight without winning, and then next week at Darlington. So, but he's got a deck lid right now full of Christopher Tate. He is really trying to just hold him off here, but right now Christopher Tate is looking pretty good.
So to that point, Carlos, I'd say the guys you see being most aggressive, fighting for the win here when it comes down to it, are going to be the guys that have nothing to lose. They've already won a race. They're locked into the postseason. Those are going to be the guys, really loose off of turn number 2. I think that was Chris Tate. I think in that 25 it was really loose off of turn 2. Now fighting for the lead, and actually gave him the advantage going into turn number 3. He's going to make it stick, and he's going to lead this lap just barely over the 18.
We were watching out the back camera of the 18 of Chris Joshua Personette, and man, the 25 swung to the outside, but then when he got that run off of turn number 2, swung it way to the inside, and that's why he had that advantage. And now the 96 is putting his name into this hat here, 3-car battle for the lead, but now it's become more of a battle for second as the 96 is trying to bounce back from that pit road miscue.
Yeah, and we're seeing what kind of speed that that Chris Gossett's got in that 96 machine. As you said, he had that little spin coming on the pit road. It dropped him back to 6th place on the restart, but he's driven his way back up to 2nd. So he's certainly got the short run speed. It's just going to be a matter of, does that speed carry on later into the run? Does he still have the tires left over whenever this run extends on to be much longer than it currently is?
Christopher Reese has had to make another pit stop way back in 16th, 8 laps down now to the leaders here. So he is back on the racetrack. All 17 cars still out on the racetrack here. 16 took the green flag. Christopher Takis did not, but he's running, so all 17 still out there. Man, oh man, Christopher Tate, he has been able to reassume the lead. He's got now about a 0.3 of a second gap back to the 96. You got another 10th back to Chris Personette, and then almost a full second back to Chris Bass. Man, he is just, I know he's the points leader and everything, but man, he is running like he hasn't won a race this season.
Yeah, and that's the kind of energy we've seen out of Chris Tate all season long, really, Carlos, is he's always giving it 110%, even though he's already got 4 wins on the season. His average finish this season is 6th, which is honestly surprising given how we've seen him run throughout the races. But he's always giving it his very best, and there's a reason he's got 4 wins this season.
Lap 50 on the board now here at Atlanta. 117 laps to go here this evening. Tate, Gossett, Personette, Bass, and Roberge are your top 5. We'll step aside for another break here on FRN. Here's a message from Rapid Fire Pizza. here at Atlanta. Lap 54 now on the board, 113 laps to go this evening. Carlos Zimmerman, Logan Brakey bringing you the action tonight. We got a battle up front for the lead, Logan, as Tommy Gossett dives back to the inside of the points leader and race leader, Chris Tate.
Yeah, he got a really good run off of 4 there while we were under commercial, and he used it to his advantage and dove to the inside in the cookie cutter tri-oval. He's still side by side with them. Both of these cars driving real well right now, and nobody's really managed to edge ahead since these two have been side by side. A little bit of a wiggle there from the 96, though. Had to chase it up the track a little bit, but he's still side by side with them off of 2.
And Tate really pinched him going through that corner there, but the 96 showing some prowess here to try and maintain his line there, hugging that solid white line there. Definitely the preferred line, but that middle to high groove has got some good speed as well as they come to the stripe. Drag race, but Tate got him by a nose. As, man, this battle is going to continue on. And Joshua Personette, typically this would aid him in getting back into this battle, but he has just been hanging back about 8/10 back as Tate got the wall.
And the 96 is loose. Oh, I thought he was wrecking there, Carlos. I thought for sure he was going to nose up into the fence. What a save down the back straightaway, and he's going to just power away into turn 3. But I knew that was going to – I had a feeling that's how that was going to end for these guys. Those tires were so old. That's why you couldn't see them really get an advantage on one another, as their tires were just so worn. So much time spent off the throttle through these corners, and one of them was just bound to get tight.
Whoa, Chris Personette off the racetrack, getting loose on the exit of 2. He's going to lose those 2 spots he had, as now he'll fall back to 4th. He'll fall also into the clutches of the lap car of Chris Takas. I'm watching, we're watching these leaders. They're all slippery all over the place. Man, Chris Takas, I feel like he's about to take his lap back the hard way. We're at lap 58, haven't had a caution to get his lap back. The way he's running right now, he's about to take that lap back from Chris Tomigaza the hard way, but the gap between them is definitely increased. But, man, I'm very impressed with the 46, a guy that comes into that 3rd in points.
Yeah, he's definitely the fastest car on the racetrack, I would say, right now. But this is a product. I think this is Atlanta Motor Speedway starting to strike right now. These cars get so tight on the middle and entry to middle when the tires start wearing, and then they push, and then it forces you to put so much wheel into it to get the car to just turn off the corner. And once it starts to turn, the back end will just snap right out from underneath you. And that's typical Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it's striking hard for a lot of these leaders right now.
Christopher Tate trying to rebound after that mistake while battling with Chris Tomigassett for the race lead, as Christopher Bass loses the 2nd spot, to Christopher Tate. Once again, he falls back to 3rd. Chris Personette still trying to hang back in 4th. I'm trying to look through the field here if there's really anybody that's really having any battles. You got one brewing here. Christopher Williams and Christopher Lawrence trying to have a battle here, battle of Christophers. It looks like Christopher Williams is going to, just like that, take the spot away from the 01. The league admin, Chris Jones, he's sitting, just riding around here in 9th. Chris Jones, the league admin, he comes into that 8th in points, just about on 88 points to the good on points, so he should be able to point his way in to the Chris Cup Series chase. And I'm trying to, let's see if I can get this right, because each letter in Chris corresponds to each race. So the C, I believe, is Chicagoland. The H, oh, for the life of me, oh my goodness.
Little old track down in Florida.
Homestead. So, I should have known that. The R, I believe, is Richmond.
The Rock.
The
Rockingham.
Rock. All right, I'm 1 for 3. I'm 1 for 3 here. Let's see. The I believe, is Indianapolis.
Yep.
And then the S is the Speedway at Phoenix. That's the way they wanted to do it. So it's Phoenix, but they call it the race the Speedway at Phoenix, so it can correspond with the S. So yeah, 3 of 5. I definitely need to pick that up when we go to Darlington next week.
What is that? 75%? 50? No, my math is 60, not good. 60%. That's right.
60%. Yeah, it is. It's a
D's
D.
get degrees. D's get degrees, Carlos.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good on your GPA if you have D's all over your report card. But anyway, we're losing track here. I mean, folks, it's a long one tonight. 166 laps at Atlanta and a small field. You know, you got to scrounge for things to talk about, especially when things are so spread out. But it's not really going to be spread out for long. Chris Bass, Chris Joshua Personette, and Chris Tate. That's a train of guys right now trying to figure out which line to go with and which lane to pick and try to get around with each other. And then again, you have that lap car of Christopher Takis. It is going to start getting really interesting here at the front. We're at lap 64, approaching 100 to go. They pitted under caution around lap 32, so it's starting to get into that window, Logan, that you tried to mathematically put together of when these guys would have to come down and start making green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I would think at this point it'd be around like lap 72 is when that window would open, I would think. And I think the farthest we see them stretch it is maybe to lap 80. There's so many factors here that could vary that. The biggest one being the fuel load, which is really putting a wrench in things at being at 75%. But it's just a matter of how hard these guys have driven throughout the course of this run, because at this point in the run, you're not going to be using very much fuel because you're off the throttle for so long in the corners just to try and get the car to turn. So it'll be interesting to see if I'm correct or if I'm way off the mark there in saying that. But I would think around lap 72 is when we start to see these guys come.
This train is continuing. They're starting to run up on the lap car. The 24 of Chris Edwards. I'm trying to put him 16 laps down. Guy last high on the racetrack. Then you got to go a little further up to the 7 of Chris Clifford Corvo. I'm trying to think of this storyline that might be starting to brew here. If Corvo goes a lap down, that would move him to the first car 1 lap down, and that would take the lucky dog away from Chris Takis if a caution were to come out. So with the way it is right now, it's about a straightaway between Corvo and the leader, Chris Tommy Gossett. So if we don't get a caution between then, Christopher Takis' lucky dog spot could be in trouble. Yeah,
but to that point, he has maintained his gap and he stayed. Whoa! They're just about got wiped out by the 97 machine of Chris Edwards, and he's miking up on the radio, giving him the what for. That was very close, and it is going to cost him a ton of time as this group of cars behind him has reeled him right in. But if I'm the 96, I am furious with that right now.
About a lap and a half ago, he had a 1.2 second lead over Christopher Tate, and then the 24 of Chris Edwards just swiped across his nose, and that killed any sort of momentum that he had. And now Christopher Tate, Chris Bass, Chris Joshua Personette, and the lap car of Christopher Takis, they are all right there with the leader again.
So we are seeing some cars on pit road. I'm seeing Chad Lurdy on pit road at the moment. I'm not sure if that's a scheduled pit stop or not. Chris Edwards, obviously, coming off of pit road, but he is 16 laps down, so it could just be more repairs he's trying to make. Our leaders have not come to pit road just yet. We are on lap 70. We're coming around to lap 70 here. We should see them start to dive in soon here, I would imagine.
Yep, as they hit the line, lap 70 will go on the board. 97 laps to go here down in Atlanta. Good run there through the cookie cutter portion of the track for Christopher Tate. As you see the Lurdy machine coming back onto the racing surface. A 4-horse race right now to figure out who's going to be the leader here. As, man, I think Chris Tommy Gossett, the way he's been aggressive tonight, he's going to be mirror driving, and we're not even halfway yet.
Yeah, but these guys got to be careful because when they all start diving on a pit road, when you're in a pack like this, it's easy to run over one another, especially if somebody gets their entry wrong and is a little bit slower than you expect. But here comes Tate looking in the inside. He's not close enough to really try anything just yet.
And the 96, he's been doing a good job tonight, just holding him off there. The 25, he has been good tonight. He's seeking his 5th win on the season here in the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series. Chris Bass, he's looking to maybe get back to victory lane. That would be his 4th win. That would tie Tate. And then, of course, Chris Joshua Personette, a win that I would put him into the playoffs, no question about it. So this is something to watch for the rest of the night. Just about everybody else, though, has not really been competitive. Chris Otto, he sits in 5th right now with Chris Roberge about 2.8 seconds behind him, and then you go 3 seconds back to Christopher Lawrence, and then same for Christopher Williams. So really, I think it's going to come down to this top 4 tonight as to where we're going to find our race winner. Which one of them will it be? We do not know, and we won't find out for another 95 laps here tonight at Atlanta. Here comes Corvo. He's spun it.
Big hit. That's a huge hit for the 7 coming into pit road, working lap 71. So I wasn't far off with the guesstimation there. Oh, he's wrecking again. He just knocked the 88 out of pit road.
88's down in the grass now. Big time trouble for the guy who was running in 5th on exit. Oh my goodness, I'm sure he is not happy with the 7 of Chris Clifford Corvo. That just cost the 88 so much time.
Yeah, he's miking up and barking at the 7 over the radio now. That's the beauty of being the co-commentator here, Carlos. You get to hear the inside drama, but he is not happy with the 7 of Chris Corvo. That's going to be detrimental. So he's already lost the lap, and he's going to go close to 2 laps down before he gets out of pit road after his service is completed here, Carlos.
Still sitting in the pits right now. Leaders right now as he's actually leaving now. Leaders are heading through 3 and 4, so he might be able to hold on to just being a lap down. He'll be behind Christopher Takis, however, so the lucky dog won't be his friend if a caution were to come out. Oh my goodness, that is just a tough break for Chris Otto. A guy tonight that came in 6th in points. He's into the playoffs with his 2 wins, so but definitely he wanted something better, maybe another top 5 to just cement his position amongst the winners, but tough break for the 88 who finds himself 12th.
Yeah, I mean, the more wins you get, the more playoff points you have starting the postseason. So obviously he wants to win again, but I think that's out of the question now. As we still see these leaders. Oh, we got one coming on the pit road there. I believe that was Chris Tate coming into pit road. It was a little bit squirrely coming into the pits for a lot of these guys, Carlos. It seems like pit entry is a challenge here tonight.
Well, I know the transition from racing surface to apron is tough, especially when you're running 175 miles, 180 miles an hour. But then you got to back it all the way down to about, I believe the pit speed is 50. So you got to go about 120 miles an hour slower until you come down to the pits. So that can definitely get your car loose, especially, with old tires.
Yeah, and that's the biggest factor there too is the worn tires. A car does not slow down well whenever you're trying to brake with worn tires, and that's a recipe for a 4-wheel slide coming into the pits, which you've seen from multiple different people. I'm keeping an eye on our leader, Chris Gossett, making sure he gets to pit road safely. Looks like he's trying to come. Nope, not coming yet this time. Gonna stay out. He's really stretching his fuel well. I'm impressed.
I'm looking at the stints here, 46 laps on his, since he was last down in the pits. Everyone else that is not yet pitted is Chris Robert, Chris Jones, Chris Knoplet, and Christopher Takis. Personette now, he's in the pits now, so about 5 cars left until we cycle through here. As Chris Tommy Gossett just trying to log more laps, making his debut tonight, maybe trying to play spoiler to everyone else that's trying to make a run at a playoff run. He is not eligible for the playoffs, so 96 just making a really good impression here. Maybe if Chris Cup Series returns next season, this might be a guy to watch for if he were to return.
Yeah, certainly showing some strong pace here this afternoon, and he's really doing a good job of stretching this fuel. I got to wonder maybe if guys were pitting for tires versus fuel. Certainly looks like he's stretching his run to the distance. Still not deciding to come this time, so he's going to go as long as he can. It seems to try and stretch that lead. Now, what'll be interesting, this will show us whether or not the undercut here is effective. And now what I mean by undercut is if you pit early to try and give yourself that fresh tire advantage and undercut the guy in front of you, it's a good way to try and pass if maybe you're struggling to make up time on the track. So we'll see if this ends up hurting him or if it plays into his favor. His speeds, his lap times have stayed up, though, as he's staying out. We see him come down now. Whoa, tense moment for him there coming to pit road. That was a big slide there. A great catch from the 96. But that was a code brown situation for him, especially considering what we saw him do under caution here the last time we saw him on pit road.
Holy voice crack on my end as Gossett will be in the pits now. Chris Roberge is now the race leader. Chris Jones, he has brought it down into the pits, so Roberge, he is the last car to come down pit lane. Should expect him this time, and this should hand the lead over to Christopher Tate. after all this. So yeah, he's starting to, Roberge is starting to slow it down. He's going to bring it in here. Just going to watch his entry here to see if he makes it cleanly. That is probably the best one I've seen yet to try and come down into the pits here. Very smooth off the racing surface and then gets it down to that 55-mile-an-hour speed limit.
So we did see Chris Tate blow by Gossett there while he was sitting still on pit road. So it looks like the undercut is the way to go. We'll see here this time by whenever they cycle out what the lap charts say, but it should be Tate the leader and Gossett in second unless Roberge has not come to pit road, but staying out that long actually cost Gossett 2 spots. Carlos, he's now going to be, when this cycles out, he's going to be scored 3rd place behind Tate and Bass.
We're just waiting for our telemetry to sort itself out with Roberge pitting when he did. When Tate hits the line, that should adjust it. And yes, that'll adjust it now. The gap between Tate and new second-place driver Chris Bass, it is 3.7 seconds. So Chris Tate gained a lot of time there in the pits, but we're going to see how that plays out. Chris Bass is actually starting to gain a bit of time here. He's gained a 10th every 200 feet. So that's interesting to watch here as Tate got around the lap car there. I don't know if that played a factor. That probably did. But because I think now the gap might... Oh, no, the gap is still lessening between him and Bass.
So the gamble that Tate plays is he pits early to give himself, like I said, to undercut the leader. And it's given him this big gap, as we see. But the flip side of that is his tires are going to wear out a lot sooner than everybody else's. So it's a matter of, can he build a gap and still conserve his tires enough to where he doesn't lose all that time when those tires start to fall off and everybody else still has some speed left in theirs. So it's going to be an interesting strategy and see how it plays out for him, especially with Gossett staying out as long as he did. Is he going to be able to run them down? He's already closed his 7-second gap to about a 5.6-second gap on the leader. So the new tires are definitely prevailing here. I think we see this gap close up here in about 10 laps.
Yeah, Chris Bass's gap is now down to 2.8 seconds. He's nearly got it down to a full second. I don't know if Tate was maybe trying to save his stuff there, and that's why he was able to close, because the gap is now starting to just even out where it's at. Chris Tommy Gossett, he's got the gap now inside 5 seconds. Chris Personette, he's currently 6.5 seconds now behind him. So in about 10 laps, as you said, that should bring just about all 4 of our leaders that have been dominant tonight back to each other. Chris Otto, despite the pit road issue with Chris Clifford Corriveau, he has been able to rebound up to 5th and on the lead lap. So that's the saving grace for him. As for Chris Clifford Corriveau, he's on the racetrack still, 3 laps down, 15, that's correct, in the 15th position. So that's where he's going to find himself tonight. He is 7th in points. He might be able to point his way in next week at Darlington. We'll see how that plays out. Looking here through the, in terms of the lucky dog of a caution to come out, Chris Noblet has fallen a lap down in the 10th position, giving us 9 cars on the lead lap. Christopher Takis is 5.8 seconds behind him. So if a caution were to come out right now, Noblet would get the lucky dog and Takis would still be stuck off the lead lap.
So that gap continuing to close now. Chris Gossett has dropped it down to a 2.9 second gap. In fact, he's making a pass on Chris Bass here for 2nd place. So the fresh tires, we knew this, obviously playing to the advantage, but he is really depleting that gap that Chris Tate has built here quite quickly.
Yeah, you look at the telemetry, the stint for these guys, he's 5 laps fresher tires than both Bass and Tate. So definitely depending on how this goes, if he uses all his stuff here trying to run down the leader, that means it should bring everybody pretty much back even. We'll see how that plays out. And that gap is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's now down to a 1.5 seconds. Chris Tommy Gossett, when he gets to him here, maybe just be able to run away from him unless Tate really puts a challenge up with him, as we are on lap 90 of 166, giving us 77 laps to go here tonight.
Yeah, the only way I see Tate's strategy really paying off for him, Carlos, is if he pits the gap, the the stops cycle out and the cautions come out as soon as the cycle ends, and that gap between Tate and Gossett is formed. That's the only way I really see this strategy cycling out, because as we're seeing, Gossett is eating up those older tires. The tires aren't even that old on Tate's machine. It's just the fresh tires have such a big advantage. And we've seen Gossett do a fantastic job of taking care of his stuff throughout the course of these runs. So I think the only way that this strategy works for Tate the next time this cycle starts is if the caution comes out in his favor.
Well, it took about a lap or so for him to really get close to him here. The gap well inside half a second now. As here comes the fresh tires of Chris Tommy Gossett. He will get to him here. Tate better have enjoyed that lead while he had it, and it disappeared very quickly. It's the 96 now. He's going to try and maybe pick a groove higher. Look at that, the 24 just ahead of him here. They head down the back straightaway. Is he going to be a factor when they head into threes? They're going to be side by side with the lap car there. Man, what is the 24 doing?
He's got him. He's giving him a lane. There's room to get by there, and they do so pretty smoothly, but it's going to open up the door for Tate, I think, going into one. Not quite.
No, it will not give him the gap here. At 93, move the 96 back to the race lead. With that happening, Chris Bass is starting to lose a little bit of the time that he was gaining on the 2 leaders. Chris Personette, he's starting to lose that time that he had. Man, this is really starting to become Chris Tommy Gossett's race to lose. Still a lot can happen, though, in 74 laps here in Atlanta. Man, Tate really took it down to the grass there to try and get as much ground as he could. And you really got to be careful with that. I know, it wasn't at Atlanta, but it was also at a cookie-cutter track in Charlotte. Dale Earnhardt, Sr., making the pass in the grass. I think Tate may have tried to do his best imitation of that. Couldn't quite pull it off, especially because he didn't have a car near him, but I digress. But, yeah, it's really interesting, these guys tonight, Logan, really trying to get as much as they can and having to take it to extreme lengths.
Yeah, it often surprises a lot of people how much time can actually be made up by how aggressive you take that tri-oval here at Atlanta, Texas, and Charlotte. They're all the sister tracks on the schedule, so it surprises people how much time you can make up by running a really aggressive line through those corners. Through those little D-shaped corners, it can make the difference of 0.3 if you get through there quickly enough. You see a lot of passes set up and completed through there, and you see a lot of time gained through that tri-oval.
Lap 96 now on the board, closing in on 70 laps to go. Man, this race has kind of really flown by tonight as we're approaching the 8 o'clock hour on the East Coast, 7 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. It should be about 5 or 6 o'clock for you, Logan, out west.
Yeah, we're working the 5 o'clock hour here. Out in the balmy state of Arizona, 110 degrees here today, Carlos.
My goodness, that's the heat index here in Houston, Texas, normally. But this week with Hurricane Hannah making its way and making landfall just as of 2 hours ago on the Gulf Coast, it's really cooled the temperatures down here. And I just want to take the opportunity, if anyone's in the Texas area, please stay safe with that hurricane coming through. The lucky thing, it is a Cat 1, but it is a rain maker. So I believe it is currently making landfall at Padre Island, Texas. So if anyone in the Texas area is watching, please stay safe with that going on.
It's good news for us out here in Arizona that it's making landfall in the big state of Texas. It means rain is on the way here in the valley, the state of Arizona, and rain is something that's hard to come by here. Got our first shower last night. Nice little thunderstorm. Was nice to get. Cooled the temps down late in the afternoon, but it's a good news for us is we got a little more rain on the way with Hurricane Hannah making landfall. And of course, the good news is, as Carlos said, it's only a Cat 1, so it should just bring on a little bit of, actually not a little bit, a lot of rain, but hopefully nothing too damaging there. So all the best to those in harm's way.
When they come around, lap 100 will go on the board here tonight in the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series race from the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. We'll head to another commercial break here, brought to you by Shorba's Racing Graphics and the NNSCRA Icebreakers Online Series. Chris Tommy Gossett working the lap traffic right now and starting to pull away from the points leader, Christopher Tate, as we got 67 laps to go here tonight at Atlanta. Back here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, 64 laps to go here tonight. Chris Tommy Gossett, he is really starting to put the clinic on everybody else in this race. Christopher Tate, he is settled into the second position, almost full 3 seconds behind Chris Tommy Gossett. Chris Bass further behind him, about 2.5 seconds behind him in third. Chris Joshua Personette in the fourth spot. Chris Roberge is in fifth. Chris T. Jones currently in the sixth position, right behind Roberge here as they pass the lap car of Chad Lerdy. Christopher Williams up to the 7th spot. Those are the cars that are on the lead lap. If you're just joining us here on YouTube and Facebook, Carlos Zimmerman here with Logan Brakey alongside of me. It has been a very, very interesting race so far tonight, Logan, with 62 laps to go. I'm looking here at the fuel counter. We're halfway through this fuel run right now when we're looking at Chris Gossett. He would have to pit, based on how far you can stretch it, he'd have to pit at about lap 140, and he would be good to go, as it's pretty much a one-stop race for everybody else.
Yeah, I think we see him pit maybe a little sooner than that, just so he can have the tires to make it to the end. But, I mean, considering the way he's driven this race, he's opened up that gap to, now 3 seconds over Chris Tate, and is continuing to do so. I think maybe we see him pit a little earlier than that and maybe cut the stint in half, but at the point in the race where he can make it to the end with no issue. But he wants to be able to make sure he's got fresh tires all the way to the end of this thing. But I could be wrong. He's doing such a good job of managing those tires and keeping his speed up while doing so. He might just stretch it all the way to the limit.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. He's really been aggressive tonight as we're 60 laps to go now. So, it's going to really play a factor as to, whoa, Christopher Williams.
A little bit of a moment there in front of our leaders. It doesn't look like it's done yet, as Williams is a little out of shape there. He's going to pull over to the side. Look out! Wow!
What a save out of the guy in the 42. I think he's still trying to keep it from fishtailing, as he's actually going to lose the lucky dog spot to Chris Otto here. As Chris Otto was just put a lap down by the leader just a bit ago. Whoa, he's loose. Oh, man, now it's going to be a battle for the lap. It's going to be a lap battle for the lucky dog here, as they're trying to also deal with the 81. Man, it is really tight here, Logan.
Yeah, the cars, the track is starting to go away from these guys. The cars are starting to go away from these guys. We're starting to see a scenario a lot like our last broadcast at Monza. We've only got 6 cars left on the lead lap. The 96 is just putting on a clinic, but guys are fighting the handling and these things all over the place. The 42 is still all out of shape there. He's really fighting the nil race car. But a scary moment for our race leader being behind that little mix up there with the lap cars. He's long and cleared them now, but they're all still fighting to hang on to their machines. They're further back.
Yeah, Tommy Gossett, he is just checked out from everybody else. The gap between him and Tate, though, has kind of stabilized at about 2.8 seconds. So it's not like it's gone up, but it hasn't gone down either. So both of them running close to identical lap times. Last time by, oh my goodness, Tate was 0.4 quicker than the race leader. Same with Chris Bass. Chris Personette running about the same lap times as him. Chris T. Jones running about roughly the same as the race leader as well. That time by, I'm going to watch the lap times here between the two leaders. Yeah, it's about dead even. So yeah, it's the gap is probably going to stay the same where it is until we return to a green flag pit stop, which I'm looking at the stints here. We're about 15 laps from.
And our two race leaders, Chris Gossett and Chris Tate, are clear of lap traffic for now. So if Chris Tate's got anything more than Gossett has in that machine, this would be the time we see it. It's green racetrack for him for a while, so this would be the time that we see those guys close that gap a little bit. A little bit of dicey for Tate to get around the 88 and the 42. Remember, we saw the 88 get punted off a pit road by the 7 of Chris Corveau on that last green flag cycle, and it's cost him dearly. He's now shown in 7th position, 1 lap down. So does have the lucky dog spot should something happen, but definitely not the way he wanted his race to go, especially because he was running so well.
Running right behind the second place car, Chris Tate. He was really loose on the exit of turn number 2 last time by, so we're going to have to watch that as his car is starting to ail a little bit for him. Right behind him is that battle for the lucky dog spot between the 88 and the 42. You got to go 4 seconds back in that lucky dog spot to find Christopher Takis, he's been trying so hard all day long today to get back on that lead lap, because I firmly believe he could put his nose into the fight for this thing if he was back on the lead lap.
You know, Carlos, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to. We've had a number of these races throughout the season have long green flag runs. The first 80% of this race has been pretty clean. But we always seem to end these things in dramatic fashion, whether it be a green-white checker to 10, a 5-lap daft to the finish. I'm not so sure that's not out of the question just yet.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on it. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, when we were at the Monza Oval across the pond in Monza, Italy, me and you were pretty much wrapping this race. I believe the race, I'm trying to remember, was the race leader, is he even here tonight? I'm trying to find him here, who our winner from Monza.
It was Takis, I believe.
Yes, he's currently 9th right now. You'll look at him right here. If it was Takis running for the win. 2 laps to go. Chris Raul Meza wrecks in turn number 1. We were doing our thank yous to all our production crew and everything as Takis was just cruising to victory. And then the caution comes out, and we go green, white, checker. Takis ended up winning, regardless. But, you know, I don't think it's out of the cards either, because this is Atlanta, folks. This is a track that can eat you alive if you're not careful. It's already slick. That's been proven tonight. So we are definitely not out of the woods yet in terms of yellows. We've had one tonight here, as we'll go through a race recap. That happened with, I believe that was the spinning... Oh, my goodness. We've had 3 cars spinning tonight.
The 8 of Chad Lurdy was our only spin that brought out the yellow, but we've had Chris Edwards has had some trouble, as well as the 62 of Chris Reese. Chris Hubka has seen issues as well. He actually was involved in the wreck with the 62. So we've had 3 separate wrecks, but only one of them has brought out a yellow this afternoon.
See, what would I do without you? You know, when my mind goes blank for a second, it's always nice to have a color guy here in the booth.
So we are seeing some guys come on to pit road here, Carlos. I'm not sure if these are scheduled stops. It looks like they might be. Chris Personette, Chris Hubka are on pit road. That is P4 and P12. So these could be scheduled stops. Remember, we talked about maybe splitting this final stint in half to make sure you've got the tires to go to distance to the end. And I think that's what we're seeing.
This is a bold move by the 18, and I say that for this reason. He's pitting at lap 118, which is 49 laps to go. I saw Chris Roberge be able to stretch it 50 laps. If this gets into a green-white checkered situation, it is not going to be good for the 18.
Right, but he's gambling with the information he has. We've seen one yellow in this entire race, so he's under the assumption that this race is going to stay green to the end. He's making a gutsy call, but I think the difference we've seen in tires, like we said, he should cycle out to be the leader, I think, when this is done. Now, Chris Gossett will eventually run him down and catch him just based on his tire performance whenever he eventually makes his stop. But, this is a big call here from the 18 that we saw him do. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for him.
We're on lap 120 now, 47 laps to go. You see him here, a couple more guys in the pits now. Chris Otto, Christopher B. Williams, two of the guys that were battling for the lucky dog for the longest time. They're in the pits. That pit stop there should get them to the finish. I'm watching Christopher Tate here. He's at about 45 laps on the tires he's on right now. 5 laps more than the 96. I'm starting to think it might start creeping into his mind. Do I try and stretch this as far as I can and gamble on the fact that Gossett may try to short pit, and unlike he did last time? And that idea is out the window because here comes the 25.
Yeah, I think he's got to stick to the strategy he had already drawn up. Man, everybody's sliding the tires coming in. I think the 46 might have sped. He was on full lock coming in, but yeah, I think you just got to stick to the strategy that works. He held the lead for 15 or so laps there, so we'll see what he does here. He's into his box nice and smoothly. He's going to take 4 tires. Left side's going up, right side's going up. Now they've dropped, and left sides are going to pop up here. There they go. So he's going to lose a lap here, I think, under green, but he should get it back. I don't know. We'll see.
Trying to watch through here. He's back onto the racetrack, looking through here. About 5 cars have yet to have made pit stops. Christopher Landy, 2 laps down. But as for the leaders, Chris Noblet, Chris Jones, Chris Roberge, and Chris Tommy Gossett, we got a wreck on the back straightaway.
Gossett hit the pit road.
Chris Otto and Chris Edwards wrecked on the back straightaway. It did not bring out a caution, as it was off the racing surface.
That's one of the things about Atlanta's wide apron. I'm in disagreement with that. I think that should be a yellow, regardless of the situation. It's 2 cars that both hit hard, but the 24 just killed that inside wall. And Otto's day goes from bad to worse, but it's a huge break for a lot of guys. And mainly our race leader, Chris Gossett, he hit pit road as soon as that wreck happened, so he would have been okay, but Carlos, he's sitting still on pit road.
Yeah, something might be wrong on the 96. He has been in the pits here for 40 seconds. Oh my goodness.
He blinked a couple times coming to pit road, but it was nothing that would have forced him to, retire from this race. So
there he goes. He pulls away now. Over a minute spent on pit road by Chris Tommy Gossett, 54 seconds. Oh my goodness.
I'll see what his pit road speed coming in was. Oh, he got caught speeding, Carlos. He hit the pit speed line at 65 miles an hour. That is an immediate penalty. Sometimes there's a little bit of leniency if you come in a little too hot. He was way too hot, and I got to think it was the little blinks coming down pit road. He blinked twice when he was pulling off a turn 4 to come down to pit road, and he hits the pit speed line at 64 miles an hour. So he was serving a penalty for speeding. Oh, that is detrimental for the fastest car in this race by far.
A definite big blow to the guy that has dominated this race pretty much all night long. Chris Jones, the admin of this series, he is your race leader, folks. Don't scratch your eyes. He is leading. Him and Chris Noblet have yet to have made their pit stops yet. Once they pit, that would cycle things over to the new leader. That would be Chris Tate, although Chris Tate may just take the lead away by pure force because he is just bearing down on the 33. 33 should be coming down right now, and here he is. The Chris Spice 33 is coming in. Got to lock him up, lock him up. Well, actually, he didn't have to lock him up. He did it right that time, so that will hand the lead over to Christopher Tate.
Such an unfortunate situation for the 96 because it's not even, it wasn't even a mistake he made coming to pit road, Carlos. It was a connection issue. He had two little blinks, and for those of you who might be unfamiliar, sometimes when you blink out like that, your screen kind of freezes. You continue moving forward, but your screen kind of freezes, or you see the same blinks that we do, so you kind of lose position of where you are on the racetrack. So he ended up carrying way too much speed into the corner, and there you see him. He has disconnected from the session, obviously out of frustration. That is just so unfortunate for Chris Gossett.
Guy making his debut here tonight, and a guy who was arguably on tap to probably come home with the victory if everything cycled out properly. But instead, it's out of the race for him, and he's going to likely finish 17th because Chris Edwards is 24 laps down to the leaders, and there's more than 24 laps to go in this race, so that's where he's going to find himself out of the race here tonight. Christopher Tate owns a 6.6 second lead over Chris Bass with 37 laps to go. He owns an 11-second lead over Chris Joshua Personette. They are the only cars on the lead lap right now because everybody else is either a lap down, 2 laps down, 3 laps down, 6 laps down, 10 laps down, or in the case of Edwards, 25 laps down. So this is going to be an interesting way how the rest of this race is going to pan out. I'm looking at the stints here between Tate, Bass, and Personette. It's substantial. Tate and Bass about on the same stint. Personette 5 laps older tires than those guys. So I don't think the strategy really worked out for the 18, but a bold effort at that.
Yeah, and if this race stays green, Carlos, this is Tate's race. We haven't seen the pace from Chris Bass even late in the run to close down that gap. It's 6.4 at the line here. And I think Bass is sitting comfortably in second as well. He did actually close it by 0.2. He's down to 6.2, so I shouldn't speak too soon. But as it looks, this is Tate's race if this stays green. One thing I will mention, though, Chris Personette, this is a fantastic situation for him here. He's running third. Remember, he pitted really, really early, but he is currently 17th in points. He is 1 spot out of the playoff cut line. There are at least 4 guys ahead of him who have not shown up to the race tonight. So Chris Personette is on track to get 3rd place points, and those guys are not going to get any. So we could be looking at somebody who is currently in the points being bumped out of the points in favor of Chris Personette.
Yeah, that's the saving grace for him as, he won't have to rely on a win to get in. The point, he should be able to just point his way in. I'm going to look at those guys there. Chris Jonathan Leach, Chris Ritchie, Chris Cody Jenkins, Chris Newman. The only one I don't expect to see next week is Chris Newman. I haven't seen him in quite a while. So I'm thinking if the other 3 show up, Personette may just need just that 1 spot to move up. But here's the thing, too. Christopher Lawrence, he's shown up the last few weeks. He's 2 points behind him. If Jenkins, Ritchie, or Lee, or in the case of Jenkins, if he doesn't show up next week, Christopher Lawrence, with just a half-decent run, may be able to point his way in as you see him there. He is starting to get lapped once again by the race leader, Christopher Tate.
Yeah, and it's don't count your chickens before they hatch if you're Joshua Personette. Yeah, this is a huge race for him. He's going to be finishing 3rd from the looks of things if we stay green. And he should definitely jump into the top 16 after tonight. But we go to Darlington next week, Carlos, and they don't call the track too tough to tame for nothing. So that's a challenging racetrack to end the regular season at. So they've still got work to do next week if they want to secure themselves a top 16 spot. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Any of those three guys, Joshua Personette, or Chris Lawrence, and Chris Edwards had a shot coming into here. He's going to come away with a top 17 finish. Again, he's going to score more points than a lot of the guys ahead of him, but I mean, he's still got his work cut out for him going to Darlington if he expects to get into the top 16. So this season's not over in terms of that playoff cut line.
No, it is not. When Tate hits the line here, it'll be 30 laps to go here tonight at Atlanta. It's his race to lose at this point, but I'm going to point it out. Chris Bass is starting to close. The gap is at 5 seconds now. We'll head to our final break of the night, presented by Rapid Fired Pizza and the NSCRA IBOS Series. When we come back, we'll take you all the way to the end of this one. It's going to get very interesting down the stretch here, folks. Don't go away. Back here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, when they come to the line, there'll be 25 laps to go here tonight at Atlanta. Carlos Zimmerman, Logan Brakey here on the Flat Out Racing Network, bringing you the action here tonight. Christopher Tate sitting in the catbird seat right now to pick up his 5th win on the season, well into the, just to add the padding for his playoff points. But don't look fast, folks. Chris Bass on our live timing screen, about 4.7 seconds back. He's been closing about a 10th a lap. It would get him right to Tate's bumper at the white flag lap if it were to keep at that pace, but it's starting to stabilize out because both of them, yeah, they're both running the about the same lap times and they're on the same stint. So this is going to be interesting how this plays out for Bass and Tate, but Tate right now, he's sitting pretty right now to pick up another win here tonight at Atlanta.
Yeah, so as you said, the gap was closing pretty quickly there for a while, and it's starting to balance out now. It still remains at 4.7, but he did continue to chip away by hundredths that last lap. But Chris Bass's last pit stop was lap 123. Chris Tate's last stop was 122. So he's got a lap older tires than Bass does, but depending on how much better Bass has saved those tires, it could make a difference. So, I mean, that's all it's going to come down to is which one of these two drivers saved their tires the best. Gap down now to 4.5 seconds. So he closed 2/10 that lap, Carlos.
Yeah, but the gap is starting to reel back up, though, because Bass right now is having to deal with the lap traffic of Chris Roberge, and he just got around Chris Hubka as well, unless the 98 is trying to help the 97. Atlanta does provide a little bit of draft, so that could help as Chris Otto's bring it back down in the pits. He's 9th right now, probably going to lose a few more spots. Not the night he's wanted. He's locked into the show with his 2 wins this year. But definitely he wanted a better night than he got tonight, having trouble with some lap traffic.
So it's a green racetrack for both of these guys right now. The next lap car for Christopher Tate is coming across the stripe right now. It's, the 17 of Chris Noblet. So pretty green racetrack for a while for these guys, for our two leaders. So they've got the space to duel it out themselves.
It's just the gap is staying inside 4 seconds, and we're closing in on 20 laps to go. Bass is starting to run out of time to try and run down the 25 and make this a two-horse race. And mind you, folks, this is if they were to start battling, these are two guys that are locked into the points. This is a battle locked into the championship, excuse me. This is a battle for who carries the most playoff points going into the 5-race chase for the Chris Cup. So this is going to be, oh my goodness, this could really shake down to it. But you know, I know everyone's pretty spread out right now, but you know, I have that feeling in me. You know, I don't think we're done. We're done seeing a caution.
Yeah, but you know, Chris Bass is really hoping that we stay green, because I think he's going to get there before this race is done. We've got just under 20 laps to go. He's closed down now to 4.3. We'll see what he does this time by. If he can get this, oh, it's going to be so close here, Carlos. But Chris Bass wants this win, because if he does that, he will tie Chris Tate for most wins on the season. They'll both have 4 wins on the season. The gap actually opened up by a tenth there. It increased to 4.4. So Chris Bass might be pushing just a little too hard here, I think, and might start making some mistakes, I think.
Yeah, the gap is pretty much just stabilized at this point. That time by, Tate was a tenth quicker on the lap charts. We'll see what it is this time by here. Really, I think the thing for Bass is that he's going to need Tate to make a mistake. But with, like you said, a green racetrack in front of them, that time Tate ran the same lap he did last time. Bass a little bit quicker that time. Again, Tate's going to have to make a mistake for Bass to be able to get into the picture here, as the gap is now going to widen up to 4.5 seconds. It's stabilizing out, Logan, so it's looking like Tate's truly in the catbird seat now.
Yeah, it was looking good there for a while for Bass, because he cut that lead down to 4.5 from 7.5. So he did close 3 seconds on Tate, but I think it was just, it's appearing like now it was a little too big for him to really make anything happen. He's not chipping away at these lap times enough each lap to really make anything happen here towards the end of this thing, with 16 laps to go here.
Just want to give a call to some guys tonight that are probably going to end up picking up top 5 finishes tonight. Chris Roberge, right there in the 4th spot, the Chrissy D98. He came in tonight 9th in points. This is definitely going to pad himself in the points. It'll pull him away from the 62 of Christopher Reese with that gap. That'll break that tie. He'll probably pass Chris Clipper Corvo with that gap there. Maybe it'll actually get him pretty close. So he's probably going to not have to really win next week to get into the playoffs. With a good run at Darlington, he should secure it. The admin of the series, Chris Jones, about 1.2 seconds behind Roberge here. What a run for him tonight. He is 8th in points, just ahead of Roberge in points. An average finish of 13th, and I haven't really seen him in the top 5 this season. It would not surprise me if this is his first. So a good run for the league admin he puts on this series, folks. So if you love what you see, you got to thank that guy. But a 5th place run for him tonight. Chris Takis, he did not take the green flag tonight. Was 2 laps down for the opening portion of this race, and now 1 lap down in 6th. A good rebound for him. This will keep him in 3rd place in the points. So this is going to be just securing his spot. Well, actually, he already secured his spot with his 2 wins, so he's good to go for the playoffs. Christopher B. Williams, 7th for him tonight. Chris Noblet should settle out in the 8th spot. Chris Hubka, 9th. And then Christopher Landy will end up rounding out the top 10 if things stay where they are right now. Christopher Tate keeps the gap between him and Chris Bass, 4.3 seconds. Nothing really has changed. The time is pretty much run out for Bass for something to happen for him. Tate, he is really just cruising to victory lane right now, which is 13 laps away.
Yeah, and he's in a very comfortable spot right now. He's able to glance over at his relative and kind of see that gap is really just staying on a constant mark. And all he's got to do now is just hit his marks, and there's nobody better at that than Chris Tate with 4 wins on the season. He knows how to do exactly that. So just 4 easy corners lap after lap until he sees that checkered flag, and this race is as good as his. Green racetrack all around him. He's got a couple lap cars in front of him, but he'll be able to handle them one at a time here, which is the best way to take him on. So pretty smooth sailing for Chris Tate here towards the end of this race.
The lap car he is actually going to be running up on is the guy that's third on the racetrack, Joshua Personette. You got to think, is Personette just going to let him go at this stage in the race, or is he going to fight him?
You let him go. You've got third place locked up. Chris Roberge will be the first one a lap down. He's not anywhere close to being a threat to Personette whenever he does go a lap down. So at this stage in the race, you let the leader go. There's no sense to really fight for your spot, especially when you've got a top 3 pretty much locked up.
It's about a half of a straightaway between them here. When they come to the line, there'll be 10 laps to go here tonight at Atlanta. The gap now expanding now at about 4.6 seconds now in our live telemetry. So Christopher Tate running away with this one. Folks, I know this is a very familiar sight, but it really wasn't for a majority of this race tonight. A guy who was making his debut tonight, Chris Tommy Gossett, was running up front there up until our last pit fuel run. He had a bad pit road miscue, was caught speeding, and it wasn't even really his fault for speeding. He had some internet issues with that going on. He blinked a couple times, and that's why iRacing burned him with that pit penalty, and it relegated him back to 5th at the time. And then he just said, you know what, I'm done. We're going to call it a night, and he's going to likely finish this race out in the 17th position, last car in the race. For a guy that was making his debut, it was a definite heartbreaker for him, but that is effectively just gifted the win over to Chris Tate.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed that scenario was presented to us, because it would have been a very interesting battle between him and between Tate and Gossett there for the win. Those two had been battling first and second for majority of the race, so it would have been very interesting to see which one of them would have come out on top just due to pit strategy alone, because that's ultimately what would have decided it this afternoon.
8 laps to go now. Christopher Tate now starting to work through some more lap traffic here. Just went around Chris Clipper Corvo to put him another lap down. And now he's starting to catch here the 18. The 18, well, he moved up the track there in front of the leader. Thought he was just going to take the inside down the back straightaway and just let him go, but he'll ride the outside, and he will just let the 25 go on by, as you said, Logan. And that will be it. 2 cars on the lead lap tonight. I think after calling most of the races this season in the cNASCAR Chris Cup Series, I think that's the least amount of cars we've had on the lead lap at the end of these things.
Yeah, that's a new record for sure, because last one we called together was Monza Oval, and I think they finished with 3 on the lead lap. So this is a new record now. The only 2 cars on the lead lap are the guys running first and second. So I've never personally seen a race where there's only 1 car on the lead lap, and I think that's that'd be a sight to behold, where the leader is a full lap ahead, especially in a race such as short as this. Not uncommon in the endurance scene, but in NASCAR, it's almost unheard of. So this is a very, very different scenario that being presented to us right now.
I mean, you look at the history of just NASCAR in general, with the real one and in iRacing included. The largest margin of victory back, you got to go all the way back into I believe it was in 1970 it happened, or maybe before that in the 60s. Ned Jarrett, father of Dale Jarrett, won a race at Darlington. The margin of victory, 14 laps.
Yeah, things were definitely different back then. I'm not sure. I obviously was not a fan of NASCAR back then, nor was I even. I wasn't born, so I have no idea how things were back then, but I don't think the frequencies of yellows were that big back then. You know, the cars weren't as reliable back then, so they were always failing. A lot more accidents. It just different circumstances provide different results, and but still an impressive feat no matter which way you look at it.
Hall of Famer Ned Jarrett, of course, he'll forever own that in my book, at least. 4 laps to go here tonight. Christopher Tate well in control, 5 seconds back to Chris Bass. I think Bass has pretty much conceded that he's not going to catch him here. But man, it has been an interesting race tonight. You know, again, we go back to Chris Tommy Gossett, who's officially now out of the race in 17th, as Chris Edwards has passed him on the racing chart. Man, it was definitely his race to lose, and now Tate, he takes advantage of the mistake by Gossett, and will bring it home here tonight. 3 laps to go, Logan. I'm going to try this again, and hopefully we don't get a caution this time like it did in Monza last week. I always want to give a big thanks to all of our colleagues here at FRN. Matthew Rodriguez, he's the one that puts all this together. For each broadcast each week, I have to thank him. Seth Cole, one of our other operations managers, he's always a good help here. He was on standby for me tonight in case the weather got really bad here in the Houston area due to the outflow of Hurricane Hannah down in the Gulf right now. But I always got to thank him. All of our broadcasting partners here. I went through them last week, so you'd have to go back to that race to check them out. But always a big thanks to them. They know who they are. And then just to everyone else who works behind the scenes, Matt Muir, Michael Falanson, always a big thanks to them. And then, of course, thanks to my broadcast partner, Logan Breakey, joining me here tonight at Atlanta as Christopher Tate's going to come off of turn number 4. He's not going to have to worry about a caution this time as the white flag will be displayed. Next flag ends the race if a caution were to come out. And he is sitting pretty right now to pick up his 5th win on the season.
Barney the flag man waving that thing spiritually like he always does, and it was the flag that Chris Tate was so longing to see. Down the back straightaway, this race is as good as one for that 25 machine. Win number 5 coming up on the season for Chris Tate.
We'll have 3 cars finish on the lead lap because Joshua Personette got back around them, but a winner here tonight is Christopher Tate. He will pick up his 5th win on the season as he takes the checkered flag here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Just a great race for that 25 machine from start to finish. We saw him kind of gamble on the pit strategy here and make the most of what he had, but obviously things changed as soon as that 96 ran into issues. It became his race to lose, and just a fantastic effort from him this race and all season. He's deserved the spot he's in. He's got he's got the most wins on the season by 2. This is win number 5 this season for that 25 machine. He's not going to have any time to do any celebratory burnouts, though. Carlos says we've only got 2 seconds left in the session. Oh, I stand corrected. It adjusted there. My apologies.
Well, actually, on my screen, it says we have no minutes left and no seconds left in the session, but he's still going to get to burn it down here, folks. Just a superb run for the number 25 machine. I don't believe he led the most laps. I think that goes to Tommy Gossett. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think we have a thing to check that. But anyway, regardless, 5th win on the year for him. Right at the tail end of that run for them, so it couldn't have come at a better time to finish up this race. As we'll now bring up your full finishing results from this evening's race at Atlanta. Christopher Tate picking up the win. Chris Bass 2nd. Joshua Personette, he brings it home 3rd. That might be enough to put him up into the top 16 in points. You'll hear from all 3 of those guys. Chris Roberge and Chris T. Jones, they round out the top 5 with Takis Noblet, Christopher Williams, Christopher Landy, and Chris Otto. Despite the rough night, he'll still bring it home in the 10th position. While we wait for those guys to just settle down and get ready for interviews, we'll head to another quick break brought to you by Shorbus Racing Graphics. On the other side of it, you'll get to hear from Joshua Personette, Chris Bass, and Christopher Tate. Welcome back here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. An incredible race tonight. That was just won by Christopher Tate. An excellent run for him all night long. You'll hear a quick, interesting nugget from him in a second, but we're going to go ahead and talk to our third place finisher, Chris Joshua Personette. Chris Personette, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Man, you really played the strategy card tonight. You know, you come in 17th in points. You're trying to get as many points as you can. Maybe go for a win to lock yourself into the playoffs. But third place for you, regardless, I think that might be enough to get you up into the top 16 on points anyway. But just describe how your night went for us.
I mean, it was a good race overall. Only one caution, so it was a great race. And up to that one pit stop there, I was up there with top 3 or 4, and we were all running together. And then we all got separated after that pit stop. And I'm not sure how I felt back so far. And then after that point, I was just in conservation mode, trying to keep the car clean and come home with a good points day.
Now, like I mentioned, your points situation, you know, Chris Newman, Chris Cody Jenkins, Christopher Ritchie, and Chris Jonathan Leach did not show up tonight. All 4 of them ahead of you in points that did not show up. So this should move you up in there. You head to Darlington next week, the Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame. What is going to be your mindset? It's the season finale of the regular season. Do you go out there for a win, or do you just try to get a good finish so that you can secure your place in the playoffs?
I'm just going to try and keep the car clean because, you know, Darlington's, it's going to be a longer race. It's going to be a difficult race. It's really going to test you in a bunch of different ways. So I'm going to just try and keep the car clean the best I can. You know, if I have top speed, then we'll try and compete for the win. But if not, the overall goal is to try and keep the car clean and come away with the best points day possible.
Now, I'm going to ask this to also Chris Bass and Christopher Tate when I bring him in there. How much fuel did you have left in the car?
I ran out in the backstretch in the last lap.
Wow. Okay. And I guess it was enough to cruise you around because Christopher Tate he let you go back by you.
Yeah, I wanted to get back around him with 2 laps to go in case the caution would come out, and that way I'd end up on the lead lap, and I wouldn't have to get the lucky dog. So that was my strategy there. He was worried about that I was going to try and race him hard, but, you know, with him being almost a lap in front of me, I wasn't going to race him hard and try and wreck us both.
You know, me and Logan touched on that. We were going to wonder how you were going to race him being the last car on the lead lap. Logan nailed it down. You were just going to let him go by, and you did, but then you went back by him anyway. So, yeah, no, a third place run for you tonight. Your point situation, we're going to have to go at it when we look at it when we head to Darlington next week. Before I let you go this evening, anybody you want to shout out?
I just want to thank Matthew Rodriguez and FRN for sponsoring the car, along with MD Sports Fantasy. They're part of the Belly Up Sports Group. I want to thank everybody for racing real clean. It was one of the better races that we've had in this league, and Chris Jones has putting this league together.
Alrighty, that was Chris Joshua Personette, a third place run for him tonight. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, he heads to Darlington next week, looking pretty good and getting set for a run at the playoffs. Good run tonight, bud. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, but I'll talk to our second place finisher, Chris Bass. Chris Bass, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me? Try it one more time. Chris Bass, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me? Chris Bass, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me? Looks like we may be having some technical difficulties with Chris Bass.
Chris, that dude's talking to you.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
He's talking to you.
I'm in the race chat deal.
All right, well, he's coming through, and he's apparently not able to hear us right now. He's must be having some technical issues there. We'll try to sort him out, and we'll bring him in here. But we'll go ahead and we're going to talk to our race winner, Christopher Tate. Christopher Tate, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm sure you're riding Cloud 9 right now. Man, when I saw you put in the chat, 0.5 laps to the good there at the end. You ran out of gas on your burnouts. Man, if you had pit any different under our last pit stop, I'm sure it could have went bad for you.
Yeah, I during practice I did a about 25 lap run just to kind of see what the fuel window would be, and it ended up being around anywhere from 45 to 49 laps. I think I paired it with 44 or 45 to go, so I'm just lucky that worked out. I couldn't really figure it out all in my head at the time, but I just guessed, and luckily I guessed right.
And it was just an all-around great run for you tonight. We really were hoping that that issue didn't happen with Gossett, because we figured it was going to come down to you two guys there at the end of that thing to figure out who was going to win tonight. You said it in the chat. He arguably had the better car tonight, and then just had that really horrible pit road miscue that pretty much just inundated his race. But regardless of that happening, you had a really good car tonight. How did it feel out there for you, though, on this very slick racetrack?
It felt honestly really good at the start of the runs, but later on it started getting tighter and tighter, which is kept hitting the wall more and more, so that probably had something to do with it. But I knew coming in that Gossett was going to be a stout competition, just because I've raced them in the past and I know he's always up front. But I think we were somewhat even at the beginning, but once I think after the first or second pit stop, he definitely had the better car throughout the race until the mishap on pit road.
Now you head to Darlington. You're well locked into the chase for the Chris Cup. 5 wins. Your mindset going to Darlington. I know the idea is to keep the car clean and get ready to get set for Chicagoland to open up the playoffs. But a 6th win wouldn't hurt you. Is that what your mindset's going to be?
Definitely. Darlington's one of my favorite tracks, so I'm looking forward to getting there and seeing what I can do.
Alrighty, a win for you tonight. Incredible run for you. Just, again, the unfortunate thing with Gossett there that pretty much handed you the victory tonight. I was watching through the telemetry. Chris Bass was starting to run you down there a little bit. Were you trying to just back off and just let your tires come to you, or was Bass actually trying to make headway on you?
It was a bit of both. I was trying to back off, but still run consistent lap times. And I was watching my relative every single lap. I'd see him close in, and I saw he close in on me getting into 1 and probably getting into 3. But I gained the most time later on getting off of 4, and that's where I really stretched out like a 10th or 2, maybe 3. And I was just trying to keep the gap even. And I think he just ran a little bit too hard and wore out his stuff trying to catch me.
No, definitely. That probably would have been, that was the issue going on. But yeah, again, a win for you tonight, Christopher. Before I let you go this evening, anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, definitely you guys for broadcasting us all the time. Chris Jones for putting the whole league on. Grip Motorsports for helping me out, and Late Models and Oriole Motorsports also.
Alrighty, once again, that was your race winner, folks. Christopher Tate, 5th win on the season. He's going for number 6 at the Lady in Black next week at Darlington as we get prepared for the chase for the Chris Cup. Good run tonight, bud. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to try this one more time. Chris Bass here. We'll try to bring him in. Chris Bass, this is Carlos Zimmerman in the FRN booth. You got me this time?
I got you this time, bud.
Alrighty, cool. Glad we got that one fixed. Man, I was looking in the chat there. I asked Christopher this too. Tate this. He was half a lap to the good on fuel. You were 3 laps to the good. If either of you pit any different than each other than y'all had on that last pit stop, this could have been a different outcome for you, and probably may have had you in victory lane tonight.
Yeah, I seen in the chat that he had said he was half a lap to the good after the race was over with, and I just thought just one more lap would have been great. But I think the best car won. It was between him and the 96 anyway, and I think the best car won. But yeah, it was. It would have been different. It had. I thought about pitting in that before he did, so it flipped the script altogether. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
A second place run for you tonight. I know you're locked in to the chase for the Chris Cup at this point. You had 3 wins earlier on this season. Your first one coming at Texas, a cookie cutter track like this one. When you look at it, was that mindset you had in Texas, was that the same mindset you brought in here to Atlanta, or was it different?
Basically, yes. Just tire conservation is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that you're running at Atlanta. So it just boiled down to the mentality of just save your stuff, and hopefully you can reel them back in at the end of a long run, which we had long runs tonight. So yeah, that was the same mindset.
Okay, you head to Darlington next week. It's definitely a different track. The track too tough to tame. It's going to be a barn burner, to say the least, and how everything plays out. I don't think we're going to have just one caution next week. What's your mindset? You have 3 wins. Do you try to go for win number 4 to just add to your playoff points padding, or just try to keep the car clean and get set for Chicagoland?
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to run Darlington next week. Um, that really hurts. No matter it's my home state, or I take it as my home state, and yeah, that one hurts. But I won't be a part of the race next week. But I'll definitely be watching the broadcast.
Well, that's unfortunate, but regardless, you're locked in. You're pretty much settled in. I think the worst you would fall to is 3rd in points, depending on how Takis runs next week. So it'll definitely be a fun one to watch, though. Darlington always providing good racing. So, but yeah, we'll stumbling over my words here. Before I'll let you go this evening to go just enjoy your second place run and just enjoy the rest of your night. Anybody want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Shout out to V1 Rotate Simulation Technologies, Red Eye Designs for the paint schemes, family and friends for tuning in, and all the support they give me, and you guys for a good broadcast. I really appreciate everything y'all do.
Much appreciated, Chris. A second place run here tonight for Chris Bass. Won't see him in Darlington, but we'll see him at Chicagoland for the first race of the chase for the Chris Cup. Good run tonight, bud. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Alrighty, that'll about wrap things up here. I'll bring my broadcast partner, Logan Breakey, back in. Logan, man, a very green race tonight. 1 caution only, but still had a fair amount of action.
Yeah, and that's very typical for Atlanta. We see, like we said at the top of the show, we see a lot of green flag runs, which is what brings the tire conservation into play so much, is just the long green flag runs. It's such a fast track, but it's usually a pretty clean race for the most part. And today was no different from that. So a really good race overall for everybody. Excuse me, and happy to see that. Looking forward to Darlington next week. It's sure to be wild, especially between those guys that are fighting to get those last few playoff spots.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun one next week at Darlington. Same time, same great channel. Flat Out Racing Network will be bringing it to you. That one happening 7 Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, as always, the final race of the regular season from the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. Folks, next time you'll see FRN, it will be over on Speed51.com tomorrow night. The finale of the Speed 51 Elite Days Gone By Truck Series. 4 drivers, Tyler Fode, Chad Frankenfield, Brian Blauman, and Chuck Sweeting are battling it out for that championship. They will be at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. That will be a fun one to watch myself, and I'm hoping Bronson Stafford will be back with us to call that final race of the season. If not, more than likely Sam Dyer will be with me. That'll be the next time you'll have some FRN action, so go check it out on speed51.com tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Logan, thanks for being with me tonight. It was a lot of fun, and we are getting set for a wild final 6 races of this season.
Yeah, buddy, always a pleasure to be up here calling with you, and looking forward to the Lady in Black next week.
So once again, for Logan Breakey, my name's Carlos Zimmerman. Thank you so much for tuning in here tonight on the Flat Out Racing Network YouTube page and Facebook. Please give us a subscribe if you like what you see, and also sure to give us a like on Facebook. Once again, Christopher Tate, your winner here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll see if you can turn that into win number 6 when we head to the Lady in Black, the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. That'll wrap things up here. Once again, I'm Carlos Zimmerman. He's Logan Breakey. Good night from Atlanta, Georgia.